On August 2nd, 338 BC, King Philip II of Macedon had invaded mainland Greece. Philip was accompanied by his 18-year-old son and heir, Prince Alexander. Philip and his Macedon army are confronted near the Greek city of Chaeronea by a large Greek alliance of Athenians and Thebans. The Greeks had carefully chosen their battleground, with mountains to their south and the Kiphisos River to their north. This secured the Athenian and Theban flanks on either side and favored the Greek hoplite style of battle. Philip's army was set up in the following order. Deployed on his right flank was the king himself, commanding 6,000 of his most elite hypaspists infantry, with 500 peltast and 500 archers. On the opposite end of the battlefield, the Greek army was deployed as follows. On their left flank was 10,000 Athenian heavy hoplite infantry, although this particular band of Athenian soldiers were inexperienced, with most of them having never fought any battles prior. Deployed at Philip's center was 15,000 Macedonian phalangite sarissa pikemen, forming an impenetrable wall of pikes. These soldiers were the heart of King Philip II Macedon army. Deployed on the Greek center was a multitude of 7,000 Greek hoplites from various Greek states, most being mercenaries, with others being older veterans of surrounding Greek cities.
Cavalry, then. The horses are usually in charge.
Deployed on Philip's left flank was another 5,000 hypaspists infantry, 500 Macedonian companion cavalry, 1,700 or so Thessalian cavalry, with an additional 1,000 skirmisher soldiers on the far left. The left flank of the Macedon army was commanded by Prince Alexander himself. In total, Philip commanded roughly 30,000 infantry and 2,000 cavalry. Deployed on the Greek right flank was the Thebans, whose force was the largest of the coalition at some 18,000 men. The Theban hoplites were the more elite and more experienced of their Greek counterparts. And finally, on the far right of the Greek army was 300 sacred band Theban hoplites. These men were the most elite of the entire Greek army and arguably on the entire battlefield. In total, the Greeks' army numbered some 35,000 men. King Philip ordered his right flank to advance on the Greeks, while the rest of his army was ordered to remain in place, keeping a slanted formation. Philip ordered his son Alexander not to join the battle until a moment of opportunity presented itself before the rest of his force was to join the battle. Even at such a young age, Philip trusted Alexander, as by this point Alexander was already experienced in battle and had commanded men prior to this engagement. As Philip's right flank advanced on the Athenian left flank, his skirmisher men advanced ahead of their formation and began loosing arrows and javelins on the Athenian lines, hoping to lure out them away from their battle lines. However, the Athenian lines held firm, waiting for the approaching Macedon infantry to come to them. Coming within 100 feet or so of the Athenian lines, Philip ordered his hypaspist infantry to charge. Philip's men were more experienced and battle-hardened, inflicting more casualties on the Athenian soldiers. However, they were unable to break the Athenians, as the Athenians had a numerical advantage and were able to hold their lines firmly. Alexander didn't want his father's right flank to be isolated, and thus he ordered the Macedonian left and center to slowly advance up the battlefield. This maneuver by Alexander prevented the Greek allies in the center and right from leaving their positions to engage with Philip's right flank. As the Athenian left flank was beginning to tire out, Philip spontaneously ordered his right flank to begin to fall back. The Athenians took this as a sign that they were winning the fight and began pushing forward, staying right on top of the retreating Macedonian right. Alexander, noticing what was happening, watched closely as his father's right flank began to slowly pull back, luring out the Athenian flank further away from the safety of the main Greek force. The Greek allies at the center, noticing what was happening, marched out of their formation with a portion of their force to keep pace with their Athenian allies on the left, as to not allow them to get flanked. The Greek hoplites at the center surged forward, chasing down what they believed was a fleeing enemy. They were met at the center by the Macedonian phalangite Sarissa pikemen, whom had deployed a wall of spears. As Philip's right flank led the Athenians further from their main force, and as the Greek center had engaged with the Macedon phalangites, thus breaking apart the Greek formation, Alexander had realized that this was his opportunity to strike. He rode forward, leading his 2,300 Macedon cavalry.
Quickly now!
Charging across the field, Alexander signaled for the rest of the Macedon lines to advance forward onto the Theban lines. Upon seeing this maneuver by his son, King Philip then gave the order for his own men to stand their ground and fight. Philip's men then began to push the Athenian left flank back. Alexander steered his cavalry soldier inward and to the flanks and rears of the now engaged Greek center and Theban lines. His cavalry violently smashed into the Greek hoplites' rear, crushing the Greek soldiers in what was known as the hammer and anvil maneuver. Greek men at the center begin to panic as their formation collapses, leaving them exposed from all sides. The Greek center breaks into a full-on rout, leaving the Theban right flank fully exposed and now surrounded. Seeing that their center has collapsed, the Athenians that were engaged with Philip's right flank soon enough begin to rout from the battle. Alexander and his cavalry press on, riding down the Thebans' right flank, sending them routing from the battlefield. The 300 Theban sacred band warriors refuse to withdraw. They make a courageous last stand, fighting on until they are eventually overwhelmed and cut down. After hours of intense fighting, the casualties in respect to the size of both armies were rather low. The Macedonians were reported to have lost only 200 to 400 men. The Greeks were reported to have lost 2,000 men, with an additional 4,000 of them being captured. With this victory at Chaeronea, King Philip II of Macedon was now the leading political figure in all of mainland Greece.